Hello and welcome. You're watching the News Unlocked, the show that takes you behind the headlines to bring you the stories that really matter. As COVID cases keep rising in the country, the big question has been, is India slowly but surely heading towards herd immunity? The government of India denies it, but there may be some reason to believe that the virus has now infected far more people than the actual official numbers show. In particular, the sero surveys, which are a means of quickly determining the spread of the virus in a specific community or a population block, have thrown up some fascinating outcomes. While such surveys are being conducted in different parts of the country to help assess how widespread COVID-19 could have become in the community, today we first up look at the sero survey conducted in Mumbai, because this is the one that has thrown up some very interesting data that suggests more than half the population in the country as of now could be corona affected, at least in Mumbai itself. Don't forget, the city of Mumbai has so far recorded officially over 1,16,450 cases, more than 6,000 deaths. But if the sero survey is right, the worst could be over in Mumbai. Mustafa Sheikh has this special report from Mumbai.
Mumbai, India's financial and entertainment capital, the city has already recorded over 1,16,000 cases. That is over 7% of the country's tally. And there have been more than 6,000 deaths due to the coronavirus. A medical survey of nearly 7,000 people in Mumbai has found that 1 in 6, or about 16% of the residents in the city, had already contracted the coronavirus. But the most surprising finding of the survey was that out of the 4,234 people tested in the city's slums, 57% had already been infected once. And out of another 2,702 tested in other residential societies, 16% were once infected with the coronavirus. The survey also revealed that the infection rate among women seemed to be higher.
Herd immunity is also a very complex thing because it depends on how long the antibody lasts, how long the immunity lasts. There is also T-cell dependent immunity. So again, there is a lot of emerging studies, emerging data that's indicating about how long the antibodies will survive in a particular individual. One of the highlights of our study is that a subcohort of these samples that we have tested, we're also going to be testing for neutralizing antibodies. Now this will tell us about in what percentage of these people there are antibodies that can actually neutralize the virus. So that's going to be an indicator for concluding anything about immunity or other such conclusions. Now, given that, it's likely that the slum population will reach herd immunity sooner than later. But again, it depends on how long the immunity lasts.
The serological surveillance study, jointly conducted by the Niti Aayog, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation and the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, used random sampling in the first 2 weeks of July in the cities Dahisar, Chembur and Matunga areas.
Particularly in slums, from our data, were infected more than men. But as you rightly pointed out, at the end of it, the women who are reported cases who have severe symptoms and hospitalized or who don't survive, that number is lower for women and more for men. Now that could have a variety of reasons. You know, there's only so much we can say about this. It could be that you know, although women are getting more exposed for whatever reason, maybe they move around more, because in slums particularly women work a lot and they travel a bit. So they may get, but they are more robust. Now it could be their own, for just biological reasons, or it could be that men tend to have more some kind of comorbidities, but women are more robust, and that having an infection does not result in serious symptoms. So that's what one could make out.
None of the respondents had taken a RT-PCR test for COVID-19, which implies that they were either asymptomatically infected or may not have had serious enough infections.
Caseload of Mumbai is reducing every day. 70% of the patients have recovered from coronavirus. more sero surveys in the city of Mumbai will give us a better picture of prevalence of COVID-19 in the city.
Now that is one part of that sero survey. The other part which is fascinating is the case fatality rate. How many people actually pass away out of the total number who test positive for COVID? Remember, the higher the fraction, the higher is the fear factor. But now the sero survey in Mumbai suggests that in several parts of the city, in particular slums like Dharavi, the death rate may actually be very low. About 1 in 1,000 persons who are getting infected may actually result in a fatality. This is the picture after the survey. So let's take a look at what this is all about. And has Dharavi proven that maybe there is truly a herd immunity that's being achieved? Take a look.
Asia's biggest slum, Dharavi, has been in the news since Mumbai began to take the lead in the number of coronavirus positive cases. The fear was that Dharavi might explode, but it didn't. And the answer to why might lie in what the sero survey findings might be indicating. One of the interesting findings of the sero survey in Mumbai was that the impact of the coronavirus is distinct in slums and non-slum areas. And with herd immunity being the buzzword, it would all finally depend on how long the antibodies last. But those who conducted the survey in Mumbai feel that it is likely that the slums will reach herd immunity sooner, depending on how long the immunity lasts. Dharavi, spread over 2.5 square kilometers with a population density of 2,27,136 per square kilometer, was a ticking time bomb, and as soon as the first death of a COVID patient was reported on 2nd of April, alarms started ringing.
Initially we acquired maximum number of schools and sports complex and whatever empty buildings we have, we started acquiring them and converted them into institutional quarantine. And we appointed full-time doctors, nurses and ward boys at such places, and then we started isolating people.
The Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation went for door-to-door screening by doctors in private clinics. More than 3.5 lakh people were screened.
There are many examples from around the world that have shown that even if the outbreak is very intense, it can still be brought back under control. And some of these examples are Italy, Spain, South Korea, and even in the Dharavi, a densely packed area in the megacity of Mumbai, a strong focus on community engagement and the basics of testing, tracing, isolating, and treating all those that are sick is key to breaking the chains of transmission and suppressing the virus.
The results of the exercise started to show. On June 1st, there were 34 new cases reported from Dharavi, and from there on, the number kept going down. As of 3rd August 2020, Dharavi reported 12 new cases on a single day, while the number of total COVID cases remained below 2,000.
The Mumbai Sero Survey attributes spread of COVID-19 in slums to population density, public toilets and common water points. While Dharavi was not surveyed, it is believed that situation there will be no different. If one takes 57% of prevalence of COVID-19 in slum areas, the current mortality rate is low by all standards. A positive finding of the survey boosting morale of health administrators in the city. With camera person Mangesh Ambre, Mustafa Sheikh in Mumbai for India Today.
So could it just be possible that parts of the country, including Dharavi in Mumbai, are reaching herd immunity? Joining us now, Sandeep Juneja, Dean at TIFR, Ullas Koltur, biologist TIFR. Appreciate both of you professors joining me here on this special of News Unlocked. Let me take that to you first, Sandeep Juneja, as the Dean TIFR. Am I right in suggesting that if 57% as per your Sero survey in an area like Dharavi are COVID affected, mortality rates are low, that there could be creeping herd immunity at last?
I think there are a number of things to keep in mind. First of all, this 57% can actually be a little bit higher. And that's because the tests we use, they often make a mistake when a person is positive. So 7% of people who are positive may be classified actually as being negative, while they're 100% in classifying negative as negative, more or less 100%. Also, our survey in the slums did not really go to the containment zones, which are likely to be more infected. And then, as you've been hearing, the antibodies actually come down with time. So some of the people who actually were infected may now report as being not infected. So that's one point to keep in mind, that actually numbers could be higher. Second point is that, we really don't understand herd immunity that well. There could be reinfection. Antibodies may give you protection for some time, and then they come down, and then you may not have that kind of protection. So that's also something that's not entirely clear.
But what you're saying is that the actual numbers, therefore, of those who are infected in areas like Dharavi could be even more than 57%. So there's an even greater chance of even more people being infected than less.
That is correct.
Ullas Koltur, this debate keeps coming up. Is herd immunity possible? In a country as large as India, 1.3 billion people, the government of India, ICMR, says herd immunity possibly cannot happen. There are other epidemiologists who say that will happen sooner or later or at some stage. Where do you stand?
I think, as reported by your footage, these are really early days in making a conclusive statement about if and when we'll reach herd immunity. Now, if there is herd immunity, and as many epidemiologists have speculated could happen around 60-70% of infection, then at least based on the data that we are seeing, it's possible. But again, it's really dicey. I mean, we don't know how long these people will remain protected and whether they'll be susceptible to a second round of infection. So these are things that we need to determine. In fact, one of our subsequent rounds of the study will estimate how long the antibodies would persist in these individuals. So that's I think going to be very useful to assess,
But Professor, how robust was, Professor Koltur, how robust was the survey in terms of sample size, or are we in the same space as opinion polls are, where you randomize the sample, but it's a smaller sample?
No, so the point is that we had a fair representation of the sample. In fact, it's a very large sample size for a given population. If you look at many other sero-surveys, they've collected far fewer samples from any given area. So this is one of the largest cross-sectional studies. And the idea here was to actually, look at whether population and factors that you mentioned were actually contributing to the prevalence. In that sense, this is not a small study. I mean, yeah, might look small because we are looking at 3 wards in Mumbai, but per ward, we are actually looking at a larger sample size.
But could we at all say, Sandeep Juneja, Professor Sandeep Juneja, that maybe Mumbai, in particular, based on 3 wards, the worst is over? That Mumbai has peaked, or would I be again being premature in saying in suggesting that the worst may be over in Mumbai?
No, I think one needs to be very careful because in the non-slums, in the residential areas, you have prevalence of the order of 15%. So there really is a long way to go, and I think it's not at all the time for Mumbai as a whole to take it easy or to let the mask down, so to speak.
Let me, for our viewers, also just tell them what is a sero survey. Before I come back to my 2 guests, remember, sero surveys are being conducted in different parts of the country. On the 1st of August, Delhi initiated a second serological survey across the 11 districts of the capital. In the first one, 23% of Delhi were allegedly corona infected, and this led to the belief that even Delhi may be reaching some element of herd immunity. Why are states so keen on conducting sero surveys? What exactly is a sero survey? How does it help? Take a look.
A serological survey is intended to detect whether the block of persons being tested has developed antibodies against a specific virus, in this case, the coronavirus. Since these antibodies are produced only after the infection has happened and are specific to the attacking virus or bacterium, their presence is an indication that an infection by that particular virus or bacterium has already occurred. The survey is conducted on a particular set, and the findings are used to extrapolate the figures to larger populations as indicators of patterns and trends. Serological surveys help assess how widespread COVID-19 could have become in a community and how much of herd immunity might have been achieved.
Achieving herd immunity, first of all, is going to take a very long time, and secondly, is going to come at a cost in terms of loss of lives as well as illness in the community and prolonged lockdowns and things like that. So the best way to achieve herd immunity, in fact, the word herd immunity is usually used in the context of vaccination. For example, for measles, if you want to eliminate measles in a community, you vaccinate over 90-95% of children. That then achieves what is called herd immunity.
The first sero survey focused on Delhi and was conducted by the National Centre of Disease Control, NCDC, in collaboration with the Delhi government, and a total of 21,387 samples were randomly collected from across 11 districts of the capital.
Having said that, it also really tells us that we have a significant number of people who are still vulnerable. 77% of people are still vulnerable to the infection. And therefore, even if our cases are coming down, even if the hospital admissions have come down, we still have a large population in Delhi which can get the infection. And therefore, all the infection control measures, containment strategies still have to be in place, because we haven't reached that number that we can say that there is good amount of herd immunity.
The results implied that 1 in every 5 individuals surveyed had been exposed to the novel coronavirus.
To put it simply, a sero survey helps states decide which area of the state has had the most spread of coronavirus, what is the level of population that has been exposed to the infection. For example, in Delhi, 23% people have been exposed to the coronavirus. So their exposure again is unlikely, but that means that more than 70% of people are still exposed to the virus, could be vulnerable to the virus, which is why containment strategies need to be increased. Meanwhile, in other cities as well, in containment zones of Ahmedabad, about 49% people have been exposed to the virus. ICMR says that states must conduct their own sero surveys, and that ICMR will assist them with policy-making decisions such as weekend lockdowns or lockdowns for certain period of days to contain and check the chain of transmission.
Milan Sharma there reporting for the News Unlocked. Ullas Kolthur, biologist at TIFR, who conducted that sero survey. One of the more interesting elements is women. Your survey seems to believe a preponderance of women, particularly in Dharavi, have been infected by corona, but their mortality rate much lower. Is there something we can draw from that?
That's interesting. So the infection per se could be because of purely a social behavior, where, like Sandeep said, it's quite possible that these people are going out and intermingling more with the population. So that could be one explanation about higher prevalence. But overall, if you see that it looks like here and elsewhere in many other parts of the world, men are likely to suffer from more severe outcome of the disease, and also the death rate itself seems to be higher in men than women. So that could be because of many reasons, including biological reason, hormonal profiles, or even simply increased cardiovascular diseases or comorbidities that could be seen in men. So it could be a complex admixture of many other reasons. And in fact, surveys like ours and many others should actually gather information, because otherwise, without numbers, we will only be making assumptions, and that's not the best way to tackle this disease.
Sandeep Juneja, Professor, you want to add to that? The fact that women perhaps may be more prone to be infected by corona as per the survey, but are less likely to suffer fatally from it?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with Ullas that, we saw in the slums about 59% women were infected, while 53% men were infected. So that's a statistically significant difference in the two populations. On the other hand, when you see the reports of, severe cases, hospitalizations, fatalities, those are much larger for men. I can only say that this just needs more further research to really understand what's going on.
Can I ask both of you this? The big question that is being asked, do you believe, Ullas Koltu, that Mumbai could possibly unlock even more? Do you believe cities like Delhi, Mumbai, indeed all the cities where your surveys show that more than 50% now could be infected, are the cities which could be unlocked a little faster?
Yeah, so the survey our survey shows two things. One is, of course, crowding leads to more spread, and protection that we see in non-slum areas would be useful to make sure that the spread is slowed down. Which probably has important lessons, that you could probably open up activities that are not going to lead to crowding, and also take into account social distancing and with protective measures like masks. So yes, definitely one could think about ways of reopening some activities which don't necessarily pose a serious threat to people who are not infected yet.
Professor Juneja, particularly given the contrast that one finds between slum areas and non-slum areas. Non-slum areas seem to be less infected by COVID than the slum areas. So, is there a strategy perhaps for the future when it comes to unlocking?
Well, I mean, certainly in all the areas, people should continue to wear, observe precautions, wear masks, maintain social distance. What we are seeing in non-slums is that's actually successful. It actually helps, because you can see that in the slums, it would have been difficult to maintain this kind of distance. But in non-slums, because they were able to, it does seem to slow down the prevalence. So that's something to continue. Other than that, I think all these numbers, what they're suggesting is that Mumbai, particularly now when it has some extra capacity in medical infrastructure available to it, it can begin to open up slowly. These numbers give some comfort that there are people who are, who have been infected before, and maybe have some kind of protection. So some amount of opening up can be taken up in all of Mumbai, because that really boils down to opening up the transportation sector there, and with the medical capacity that can be absorbed.
Yeah, because that is, of course, the big question. Can we open up public transport indeed in all our cities, the metro in Delhi, the trains in Mumbai? Do you think, Ullas, very quickly, that's possible in the next month or two?
Yeah, I think there are two things that we need to think about in this. One is, of course, the infection spread. The other one is, what kind of care we provide to people who are symptomatic and who actually show severity. Now, unless we, have bolster that aspect of our healthcare system, I think opening up will not be the best thing. So as long as we have, healthcare system that can cater to people who will be infected and who show symptoms, I think you can take a calculated bet. Of course, I think policymakers will have many other things to consider besides this number.
I just add to this, Rajiv.
Yes.
In Mumbai, about 8 million people travel by trains in normal time, and when you look at the peak load there, you have about 14 people, staying in 1 square meter of space. So it's enormously crowded. Now we cannot get back to that anytime soon. So it would have to be 1 person per square meter maintaining social distancing.
So maybe a staggered schedule of trains, maybe a staggered schedule of metros, but clearly your Sero survey is offering hope. It's a 4-letter word, which is an important word in the times in which we live. There are some signs, perhaps, that the infection is approaching an area where we could have perhaps different strategies for the future. I appreciate both of you joining us, sharing with us the details of your Sero survey. That's what we do on the News Unlocked. We bring issues that perhaps don't get enough coverage in primetime news and then unlock the news. News without the noise. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.